What if the world's richest lands are cursed not by nature, but by greed? What if the very soil that feeds millions becomes the reason for their suffering? Tonight, we take you deep into Sudan, a nation bleeding silently as the world turns away. Over 2,000 civilians have been killed in just days, entire towns burned, families wiped out. Stay with us till the end as we uncover the disturbing truth behind this unfolding genocide. You are watching AfriPlus News Channel. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more important and thought-provoking analyses like this one. Sudan, a land once known for its resilience, is now facing one of the darkest chapters in its history. Reports confirm that the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, a paramilitary group backed by the United Arab Emirates, UAE, has launched a wave of mass killings across multiple regions. Satellite images reveal horrifying red patches around residential areas, believed to be pools of blood from massacred civilians. If technology can now see blood from space, how much more blood must be shed before the world intervenes? Why is silence the global response when human lives are being erased before our eyes? Eyewitnesses describe scenes that defy humanity, armed men going door to door, dragging civilians from their homes, asking men if they are soldiers before executing them in public. Women and children left to watch the horrors unfold, their lives shattered in seconds. How can any conflict justify such barbarity?
Over 2,000 Sudanese people were massacred, slaughtered in the first 24 hours since the RSF took El Fasher. Among them was the youngest parliamentarian in Sudanese history, Siham Hassan. This is a woman who ran community kitchens in El Fasher to make sure that she fed the starving people of the city, and she was assassinated among the people that she served. 5 Sudanese Red Crescent members were killed while they were working to distribute aid nearby as well in Kordofan, and 3 more are missing. There are videos of elderly Sudanese civilians being executed in the dirt. There are videos of young Sudanese civilians being forced to dig their own graves. We are seeing videos, we are hearing news updates of atrocity after atrocity in Sudan, and the grim reality of it is that this doesn't even cover the full scope of the horror for the Sudanese people. Satellite imagery actually reveals massacre after massacre in El Fasher. There is so much physical evidence of mass killings. You can see on the satellite images the remnants of violent, bloody attacks. There is evidence of the RSF conducting door-to-door clearance operations. There's evidence of them hunting down and targeting people attempting to flee the city. They are slaughtering everyone. And this mass slaughter has the full support of not only the UAE, who actively funds and arms the RSF, but it has the support of the UK and the US government as well. UK-made arms and military equipment is actively being used to slaughter the Sudanese people right now. These weapons were exported from the UK to the UAE before falling in the hands of RSF militias. And the UK government knew about it. They knew about it, and they continued selling these weapons to the UAE, knowing that they would end up in the hands of RSF militias. The UK government received multiple credible warnings that these arms sales to the UAE could eventually end up in the hands of RSF militiamen in North Sudan, in the North Darfur region, despite there being an active UN Security Council embargo. And they chose to continue this sale to the UAE anyway, knowing that these weapons could be used in genocide. The presence of these weapons in North Darfur is a clear violation of the arms embargo. And while the UK violates that UN resolution, the US is actively choosing to ignore and undermine another by hosting an RSF war criminal in DC right now. Washington is currently hosting RSF commander and war criminal Elgoni Dagalo right now, the man who is responsible for the weapons procurement of the RSF. This is the very man responsible for taking the UK weapons that were sold to the UAE and then transporting them to North Darfur in order to kill and genocide Sudanese civilians. And the US is hosting him in our nation's capital. Thousands of people are dead in Sudan right now, and it's not just the fault of the RSF, it's the fault of the UAE, the UK, the US, and all complicit parties.
Is the human soul worth less when it is African? Why do human rights seem to stop at the borders of Africa when the victims are black and the soil is rich? More than 12 million Sudanese, nearly 1/4 of the nation's entire population, have been forced to flee their homes. Families that once lived in peace now wander homeless across borders without food, medicine, or hope. Mothers are giving birth in makeshift tents and children are dying of hunger in refugee camps. Why must displacement always follow resource wealth? Why does Africa's abundance always bring destruction instead of development? And here lies the dark truth. This war is not about ethnicity or religion. It is about minerals. Sudan's land is among the richest on earth, holding over 20 vital resources: gold, oil and gas, chromite, copper, iron ore, manganese, gypsum, limestone, silver, zinc, phosphate, marble, talc, mica, and uranium. These are the same minerals that power Western industries, from smartphones to fighter jets. Could it be that the fight for control of Sudan's mineral wealth is being disguised as a civil war? And who truly benefits from the blood spilled on this soil?
New satellite imagery is painting a grim picture of what may have happened in Sudan this week. Troops from Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, gained control of the besieged city of Al-Fasher, seizing it amid a months-long and deadly struggle for territory that has led to an alleged genocide. In this report from Yale's Humanitarian Research Lab, the lab notes numerous clusters as being consistent with the size of bodies that were not visible in prior imagery.
I've been a war crimes investigator for 26 years. I've been monitoring this conflict and this siege in Al-Fasher for 18 months. What we are seeing is a mass killing of genocidal scale that we assess at the Yale School of Public Health Humanitarian Research Lab with high confidence is occurring at probably the fastest scale of killing I've ever seen in my career.
These images corroborate reports from on-the-ground testimonies obtained by CNN that many civilians were killed by the RSF as they took the city. Light-coloured clusters and reddish discoloration on the ground can be seen around a hospital and other buildings. The report suggests these may be consistent with human bodies and blood. In some cases, experts say gun-mounted pickup trucks consistent with the RSF vehicles are also observed near the bodies. The report reflects mounting evidence pointing towards possible war crimes committed by the RSF in what has become one of the world's worst humanitarian crises.
The comparison with Congo is undeniable. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, millions have died in conflicts driven by cobalt, coltan, and gold, the minerals used in global technology. There, rape has been used as a weapon of war. In Sudan, mass executions are now the weapon of terror. When will Africa's resources stop being a curse? How long will Africa's women and children pay the price for minerals that enrich foreign powers? But the most alarming revelation comes from recent reports confirmed by the United Nations. The UN has verified that UK-manufactured military weapons and equipment are being used by the RSF in Sudan. These weapons were originally sold to the UAE by the United Kingdom, but then allegedly rerouted to Sudan to arm the militia responsible for the killings. If this is true, it raises a deeply troubling question. How complicit are global powers in fueling this bloodshed? Are Western governments profiting from Sudan's suffering under the disguise of defense trade? The United Nations has officially raised questions for the UK government regarding its potential role in the conflict. The UK's response remains limited, while the bodies continue to pile up. But the story does not end there. Multiple intelligence leaks now suggest that Israel has also been supplying arms to the UAE, weapons that eventually find their way into Sudan. How many countries must have blood on their hands before the international community acts? Why is there no global outrage when innocent Africans are being slaughtered by weapons stamped "Made in the West"?
Now, aid workers in Sudan say that a hospital in the city of Al-Fasher was turned into a human slaughterhouse by paramilitary forces who were accused of massacring 460 patients and their relatives yesterday. The Rapid Support Forces captured Al-Fasher, the capital of the North Darfur region, earlier this week, following an 18-month siege. Yesterday's reported massacre in the Saudi maternity hospital is the latest in a string of alleged killings carried out by the RSF. They deny targeting civilians, despite mounting evidence from victims, witnesses, and social media footage. Well, earlier, John Patrick Norton, who's the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross delegation in El Janina, West Darfur, a city controlled by the RSF, told us of worsening conditions for those displaced by the most recent fighting.
previously we're talking about shelters put together by straw, tarpaulin, or whatever other materials they can have. Here we're talking about people who've taken the clothes from their own back, two sticks, and they've basically constructed something themselves. And it's not just one or a group of families living like that. These conditions stretch as far as the eye can see.
Even more chilling, footage released by the RSF themselves shows scenes too disturbing to broadcast fully. These clips, verified by open-source analysts, depict burned villages, bodies lying in streets, and terrified civilians begging for their lives. Why is the truth about Sudan being buried? Who decides which human tragedies deserve coverage and which ones are ignored? If the same number of deaths occurred in Europe or the Middle East, would the world still look away? Why does Africa's pain always fall on deaf ears? Sudan is not just facing a humanitarian crisis. It is facing a deliberate erasure of its people for the sake of power and profit. And behind it all lies the same pattern Africa has seen for decades. Outside interests exploiting divisions, arming militias, and extracting wealth while leaving nations in ruins. As we close this analysis, the question remains: how long will this cycle continue? How many more nations must fall before the world learns that Africa's resources should bring prosperity, not pain? The story of Sudan is a mirror reflecting the larger truth about global injustice, where profit is placed above humanity and silence becomes complicity. Viewers, what do you think about the situation in Sudan? Do you believe the world is ignoring this crisis deliberately? Could the same pattern be repeated in other resource-rich African nations? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments section. Your opinion matters. Engage with this video so more people around the world can see what's really happening. We encourage you to support our work by joining our channel membership or sending us a super thanks. Your support helps us continue to uncover and expose the truth behind global issues affecting Africa. Disclaimer: this report is based on verified information from humanitarian sources, UN findings, and publicly available reports. The analysis presented here reflects a professional assessment of ongoing events and does not promote hate, violence, or discrimination against any group or nation. All viewers are encouraged to seek additional information from reputable sources and engage responsibly in the discussion.